Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to understand the role of international organizations, explain evolution and reforms of the United Nations, analyze jurisdiction of the UN, understand India and UN reforms. Need and evolution of international organizations. Introduction. Role of international organizations. It helps countries to cooperate with each other and create better living conditions all over the world and provide a common platform to discuss controversial issues and find peaceful solutions. What is the role of UN in dealing with a world dominated by one superpower? United Nations. UN is regarded as the most important international organization. It represents the great hope of humanity for peace and progress. But is UN necessary? Some say international organizations are not answer to everything. They call it talking shop. But these organizations help during war and peace. Countries can discuss their issues and find a peaceful solution to it rather going for war. Working together. Issues like disease can be eradicated by nations working together. If the world cooperates for vaccinating their populations, it can be eradicated. Global warming can also be controlled by the world coming together, and each country can find its own solution. Evolution of UN. United Nations was founded as a successor to League of Nations, which could not prevent the Second World War, 1939–45. Immediately after the Second World Charter by 51 states on 20th October 1945. Headquarters is at New York. UN has 192 member states. United Nations main organs are the General Assembly and Security Council. UN structure. UN's representative head is Secretary General. UN consists of many specialized agencies to deal with social and economic issues like UNDP, WHO, UNHRC, UNHCR, UNESCO and UNICEF to work in an efficient manner and to bring world together. Reforms of the UN. Reforms. Reform of the organization structure and processes. Biggest discussion are on the functioning of the Security Council. There has been demand for its permanent and non-permanent membership. For this proposal has been sent from Asia, Africa and South America. The US and other Western countries want improvements in budgetary procedures and administrations. Changes that occurred. After Soviet Union collapse, the US is the strongest power. Emergence of China and India as rising powers, new countries joined the UN and confrontations with the challenges like genocide, civil war, ethnic conflict, terrorism, nuclear proliferation, climate change, environmental degradation, and epidemics. Kind of reforms. UN faced two kinds of reforms over the time: one, organization structure and processes, and other, a review of the issue that fall within the jurisdiction of United Nations, as for why veto powers to permanent members only. The dominance of powerful countries and to play a more effective role in peace and security missions, etc. What is necessary? In 1989, as the Cold War was ending, the question which was facing the world was, is the United Nations doing enough? Is it fully equipped to do what is required? What should it be doing? And how? What reforms are necessary to make UN work better? For the past decade and a half, member countries have been trying to find satisfactory and practical answers to these questions. Jurisdiction of the UN. Steps taken. As UN completed 60 years in September 2005, the heads of all the member states took the steps to make the UN more relevant by creating Peace-Building Commission, Human Rights Council, Condemnation of Terrorism, Agreement to Achieve Millennium Development Goals, Creation of Democracy Fund, and an agreement to wind up Trusteeship Council. Issues of conflict. These were contentious issues like there is number of conflicts all over the world and what should a peace-building commission do, where to intervene or even desirable to intervene in every conflict. What is the responsibility of the international community, role of human rights and who will decide level of human rights violations and action to be taken? And for developing countries, how UN can achieve goals listed in Millennium Development Goals and many others. UN's agency IMF. International Monetary Fund oversees financial institutions and regulations. It consists of 180 members, in which G8 members enjoy more powers, that is US, Japan, France, UK, Italy, Germany, Canada, and Russia, except China and Saudi Arabia. US alone enjoys 16.75% voting rights. World Bank. Created in 1944, works for human development, agriculture and rural development, environmental protection, infrastructure and governance, and provides loan and grants to developing countries. International Atomic Energy Agency. Established in 1957 to implement US President Dwight Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace proposal, it promotes the peaceful use of nuclear energy. Amnesty International. An NGO to campaign for the protection of human rights all over the world. Human Rights Watch. Another international NGO involved in research and advocacy of human rights. UN in a unipolar world. Concerns. UN has been a hope for some countries that changes could help it cope better with a unipolar world in which the US was the most powerful country without any serious rivals. The concerns that can the UN serve as a balance against US dominance? Or can it maintain a dialogue between the rest of the world and the US and prevent America from doing whatever it wants? US. The UN cannot serve as a balance against US dominance because the US is the only superpower after 1991 and may ignore any international organization economically and militarily. United States veto power can stop any move damaging its interests as well as it enjoys a considerable say in the choice of Secretary General of the UN. Unipolar world. The US is the single largest contributor to the UN, and UN is physically located within the US territory, gives Washington additional sources of influence. US holds many nationals in the UN bureaucracy. The US can stop any moves by veto power. Therefore, the US is dominant. United Nations. Despite the strong activities of the US, the UN serves a purpose in bringing the world together in dealing with conflicts and social and economic issues. The United Nations provides a space within which arguments against specific US attitude and policies are heard and compromised. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. UN is regarded as the most important international organization. It represents the great hope of humanity for peace and progress. Issues like disease can be eradicated by nations working together. If the world cooperates for vaccinating their populations, it can be eradicated. United Nations was founded as a successor to League of Nations, which could not prevent the Second World War 1939–45 immediately after the Second World Charter by 51 states on 20th October 1945. UN consists of many specialized agencies to deal with social and economic issues like UNDP, WHO, UNHRG, UNHCR, UNESCO and UNICEF to work in an efficient manner and to bring world together. As UN completed 60 years in September 2005, the heads of all the member states took the steps to make the UN more relevant steps. India supported the restructuring of the UN, believing revitalized UN is desirable in a changing world. The UN cannot serve as a balance against US dominance because the US is the only superpower after 1991 and may ignore any international organization economically and militarily. UN serves a purpose in bringing the world together in dealing with conflicts and social and economic issues.